I fear what kind of implementation of the golden rule that they'll use next in order to suppress this awakening.
Well, I've been wondering that myself, and I do think that the sudden gift of, if you can call it that, of Wi-Fi in all of the schools on this island is an example of how they are ratcheting up the tyranny, because they've given it away for free because they know that the research has already been presented to virtually every government on the planet, certainly every Western government, by the top researchers and doctors who've been looking into this subject, the effects, the potential ill effects of Wi-Fi, and they've discovered that a shockingly high proportion of pregnancies within the first 6 weeks, I think it's over 60% of pregnancies in the first 6 weeks terminate. With almost, some women don't even notice when this happens. They just think they're having a heavy flow that month. And I know a lot of women who've been complaining of such things since the advent of Wi-Fi, whereas I never noticed it being so common before. And when you look at the research, and again, there's an article on Wi-Fi, a thalidomide in the making at selfrealization.com, which lays all of this out in great detail. The governments have rejected the research. They've refused to act. They are knowingly putting Wi-Fi in the schools to eradicate your children's chances of propagating the species, because the harm that it does to the follicles that become the ovaries in young girls, it's irreparable. And it breaks my heart to even contemplate it.
You know what? I think this is the basis of the script for the film Children of Men.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. Well, not necessarily, not quite literally, but in the film Children of Men, the entire world is infertile.
Right. I haven't seen it.
The youngest person in the world is like 28. And the whole thing is a world crumbling in on itself, breaking under its own weight, because there are no new people being born whatsoever. There is no way to replace the human race, and everybody knows in their heart that they're about to go extinct.
Well, I believe that the current birth rate in Europe is 1.1, and when I was at school, however long ago that was, it was 2.2. So it's halved since I was at school. And people need to understand. They say, oh, well, it could be worse. Well, no, not really, because you've already halved the population of the planet if that continues. But it's getting worse. It's on a downward slide. It hasn't leveled off.
Yeah.
We don't have any time to wait anymore. The people need to rise up. It's as simple as that. And it's got to happen not by orchestration. It's got to happen because the will of the people is there. It is there. They just need the right catalyst.
Now, what gives people the impetus to lay their life on the line for the lives of others? For me, it was combination of fear and anger, I guess. Afraid of my own extermination, and angry at the people who were concocting schemes to bring it about. That was me, at least. How do you inspire that kind of fear and anger in others is what I've been trying to figure out. And the answer is, maybe I shouldn't have been so afraid and so angry in the first place, because I've become a lot calmer since understanding a little more. And I think that's what fear and anger is propagated by, is a lack of understanding.
Totally. I was shivering under the duvet with fear at the brown envelopes that were going to be dropping on the doormat every single morning. I had Crown agencies coming after me, trying to issue legal proceedings against me for money I did not owe them, the alleged debts that they couldn't corroborate in any way, shape or form, but they were threatening me with prison if I didn't capitulate. I was absolutely crapping my knickers, Vinny. And I woke up one morning and I sat up in bed and I just said, no more. I'm not going to be scared anymore. That's it. And then I was angry. And that anger, it dissipated the moment that I realised what I'd done is I told the Queen that she was going to assume to be the boss of me no more, and that every state agency had backed down because of the missives that I sent them, not because I was in hiding, not because they didn't try to stop me. They did. They couldn't, because I only stood on the truth. So when people are scared at the very thought of what might happen in the future, they're ignoring the moment. And that's what I realized in myself. I was living in the anxiety of what I couldn't control anyway. And because I was doing that, I was forgetting to do with the moment what I needed to do to progress in my life. And then I realized when I looked back, I'd spent too much time having depression about what had happened in the past and how I would have done things differently now, because I was living in a godless, ego-driven world. I hadn't realized the true nature of this universe. I hadn't gotten anywhere near to even acknowledging that there was a creator of this universe, because I was a recovering Catholic and then a recovering atheist. And I think the two go in tandem quite often. But now, there's no religion that I would ever adhere to, because it's just another mind program. But government, as many people, I think Mark Passio, Locke and Rose have both said this, any form of government is just another form, any form of acceptance of government is just another form of acceptance of a religion, of a religious doctrine, that this is what must happen, and there's no getting around it.
Yeah. I've kind of been thinking about this lately as there's stages, and it occurs to me that the people in the so-called truth movement are suffering from a form of post-traumatic stress disorder.
Most of us are, I think.
Now, I've got a couple of things that are wrong with me, like, what's my one? I'm employophobic. I have panic attacks if I'm about to get a job and be employed and have somebody tell me what to do. I'm policeophobic. I am deathly terrified of being arrested again. And these fears that I have paralyze me, and I've had to withdraw entirely from being in those situations where I might be employed or might be arrested, And my life's actually turned out a hell of a lot better since avoiding those things, strangely enough. And what occurred to me is that losing your current view of reality, basically shattering the lie that is people's perception of reality and actually looking beyond the veil, is akin to the grief process of losing a loved one. There's certain things when first you get your depression, then your anger, and then your acceptance, right? And I think this is what's happened to a lot of us as we go from fear to anger to acceptance, then to action, and then to empowerment. And you can go through that level. Some people get stuck way back here, stuck in the fear or stuck in the action or but you can't go back once you've reached the empowerment stage, I think.
No, you can't. There is no going back. And I also think, certainly from my own experiences, that the most difficult periods are where you have to act to bring something about every single day, and it's relentless, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that means that you don't have the time to sit down and reflect on your actions, to learn from what's happening and to observe all of the circumstances that are arising. Because, let's face it, most people's lives are complicated by the bullshit that they don't need to have in their lives, but they have to deal with it. because it's there, it's imposed upon them.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like having children. Your life is suddenly not your own, and it's not something that you can just, take a holiday from or give up on or something of that nature. It's constant, and it's inescapable, and you just have to deal with it.
Well, I'm a full-time dad, and obviously all the work I do, most of the work I do from home. And I'll tell you a little story about my daughter, just to let you know what kind of character she is. She basically was at a bouncy castle a few months ago, and this was an indoor bouncy castle, and there were lots of 3-year-olds around, and they were bouncing up and down on the castle. And there was a little boy who went up to her, was going up to little boys and girls and pushing them down and jumping with his knees on their chests and making them cry. And he was enjoying it. So I mean, who knows what he's been sitting in front of in his house to be acting like that, enjoying the psychosis at that age. But anyway, obviously I saw this happen, and I get to my feet, and I'm just about to intervene, but my daughter had seen it, and she jumped up and she said, "No, don't you do that. That's wrong." And he got up and he looked at her and he smiled and he went for her, and she grabbed his arm and threw him down and said, "No, you shouldn't be here. Stop it." And she stopped him. She stopped the bully. Now, but she didn't just stop the bully. She stopped someone bullying somebody else, other people, and prevented him from getting anywhere near from bullying her. And that isn't because we put her up to it. I've discussed what might happen in certain situations, but I haven't instructed her what to do. She did it instinctively. And if I was to identify what it is about my character which has driven me to take the course that I have, is I have no choice. I am unable, and always have been, to do what I'm told. I'm not going to do it. And she's the same. I haven't taught her it, and I don't believe it's genetic. She's just like it's the natural law philosophy that Mark Passio has so eloquently expressed. We all know in our hearts what is right. Our children aren't born ignorant. They're not even born nescient. Our children are born understanding what we convey to them. And it's only when parents, they think, oh, well, they don't understand anything. It doesn't matter what we say. It doesn't matter what they overhear. It doesn't matter what they say. They don't know what it is yet. It's not true. It's not true.
Oh, they absorb everything.
Everything. From the beginning. From the first moment. And it's also the most wonderful experience that I've ever had, being able to spend this much time with my daughter. And it breaks my heart when I think that the vast majority of parents are being forced through financial concerns to give their children to strangers, to put them into strangers' care, and miss out on not only the most important years of their lives, but the most amazing years. These are the years where if you get it wrong, their lives are going to be a mess.
Like the Jesuits said, what was it? Give me a child until the age of 7 and I will give you the man, or something to that effect. And it is these formative years which I believe the establishment is attempting to literally steal from parents in order to reduce the possibility that free-thinking children can even exist anymore. The United Nations programs, Agenda 21, Codex Alimentarius and whatnot, I'm sure you're aware of these, have an enormous reach into high school, primary school, and now they're reaching into kindergarten, and they're reaching even further back now into preschool, even before the children go to kindergarten, daycare, and what have you. So it's going to be like this. People will not even remember in a couple of generations' time what a family or a parent even is. They will think. If this doesn't stop, that's exactly what will happen. It will be Huxley's dystopian vision come true. It's a dirty word, family, in the minds of the elite. Ironically, it's their family that runs everything. And this is something else. I love Mark Passio. Like, he's just got something.